Could the Yankees steal Edwin Diaz from the Mets? Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic linked the Yankees to Edwin Diaz, and he's not the first person to mention the Yankees and Edwin Diaz together. Pat Ragazzo of Sports Illustrated also reported earlier in the offseason that the Yankees would be among teams in Edwin Diaz's market. That includes the Mets, of course, his incumbent team, and we're going to talk about why the Yankees would be interested in Diaz, whether it makes sense financially, and where I think he ultimately ends up going. But before we break down Edwin Diaz and his profile as a free agent, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Not only does that support the page, but if you like this content, it'll give you notifications of our next upload. But without further ado, let's just get straight into this video. Edwin Diaz this past season put up a 1.63 ERA in 66 and a third innings pitched for the New York Mets. He struck out 98 batters in those 66 and a third innings pitched. And after in 2024, he had a higher home run per 9 rate than his career average at 1.17. He had a higher ERA than we're used to seeing at 3.52. He rebounded, as his underlying numbers suggested he would, and put up one of the best closing seasons in Major League Baseball. As a reliever, he was worth 2 wins above replacement, which is incredible considering how low the median win outcome tends to be for relievers who don't factor into a team's win or WAR total because they don't pitch a lot during the season. Edwin Diaz was 9th in Fangraphs wins above replacement. Among qualified relievers, he was 2nd in ERA behind Aroldis Chapman. His strikeout rate of 38% was behind Mason Miller. That was number 2 among qualified relievers, and his 0.87 whip was inside the top 10 as well, tied with numerous pitchers inside that top 10. He was an elite reliever. He was in the 99th percentile in whiff rate, strikeout rate, expected ERA, and expected batting average, and he's also in the 94th percentile in barrel percentage at 4.6%. So Edwin Diaz combines an ability to miss barrels, get ground balls, and miss tons of bats, and that makes him a devastating arm in the back end of any bullpen. You can make the argument that he is the best closer in Major League Baseball, and he does it with just a 2-pitch mix. He throws his four-seam fastball 53% of the time and his slider 47% of the time. The fastball had a 133 average and a 200 slugging percentage against, with a 39.4% whiff percentage, while his slider has a 44% whiff percentage, a 179 average allowed, and a 269 slug allowed. So batters are not doing anything against his fastball or slider combination. While they do pull a healthy amount of their fly balls in the air against him, good luck trying to A, generate a hard hit fly ball, and B, try and generate any contact at all. Teams and hitters tend to struggle to just put bat on ball, so I'm not too concerned about the batted ball data because, number 1, doesn't allow a lot of barrels, and number 2, doesn't allow a lot of contact. So the quality and the quantity of contact, those are both elite for a relief pitcher. His arm angle is very weird. He has a 19-degree arm angle. It's definitely an abnormal release point. He gets tons of extension. Release is very wide. It's a very strange release and delivery, and that only adds to the deception that Diaz has off the mound. His fastball's lost some velocity from some of his peak years. In 2022, his fastball in the 99th percentile in average velo at 99 miles per hour. This past season, it's dropped to 97.2 miles per hour, but it's remained an effective pitch. That post-knee issue has still allowed him to be an effective reliever. He just doesn't have the 99 sitting that he used to have. So that's part of the conversation with his long-term viability, but short-term, you're getting one of the 2 or 3 best relievers in the sport, a guy who's going to close games down, give you an easy, sweat-free 9th inning because he misses so many bats. Gone are the days of Edwin Diaz being a punching bag or a name that you laugh at for the New York Mets. He has become a guy who you fear, a guy that in the 9th inning, if you are trailing and you have Edwin Diaz on the mound, you expect to lose that game. You might turn off your TV. You might just switch to the MLB.com app. You might not even be that tuned into the game at that point. That's how dominant and effective he's been throughout the 2025 season, throughout his career. He has been incredible with both the Mariners and the Mets. And if you want to look at how he's done in high leverage situations, his win probability added this past season, the 4th highest mark at 3.73. So he's a machine for the Mets. He's somebody who gets the save. He gets the job done when the Mets need him, and he's been a rock for them in the bullpen when they've had a lot of turnover in that bullpen. Some guys they acquired at the deadline. Ryan Helsley wasn't very good. Reen Stanek didn't have a good year. AJ Minter was hurt and missed the majority of the 2025 season, so he's been a rock, and a lot of teams are going to look at him as someone that can immediately improve their bullpen. Now, Fangraphs projects him to get a 4-year contract at around $21 million a year. That would total at $84 million for the deal, and he does have the qualifying offers. So there are 2 costs to this. Number one, you're forfeiting 2 draft picks. For the Yankees would be their second and their 4th round picks. For the Yankees, they would also have to pay that $21 million if they were to pay him, and it could be more or less than that. Some people project a 5-year, $102 million contract. There have been reports that that's what Diaz is looking for, essentially a repeat of the first contract he received when he hit free agency as a New York Met. They did not even give him the qualifying offer because he immediately signed and remained a New York Met, so he's never actually truly hit free agency. They've been very aggressive with signing him and locking him up long term, so this is a new for him. He's going to negotiate with other teams. He's not going to be an immediate free agent sign. He's someone who's going to sit down and talk with teams and try and figure out where he wants to end up going. For suitors, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who make sense. They need bullpen support, and they're going to be interested in someone like Diaz. The Mets, as his incumbent team. You can look at the Blue Jays, who are also linked in that article and have already had that preliminary conversation with his agency. The Yankees, if they're in this, I would put them in that as well. I'm not sure how serious their interest will be in Diaz, and that's where I have a little bit of question marks about whether he's going to be a Yankee or not. It's whether they're really that interested in giving out that kind of money, but I do expect him to have a market full of teams with money. Maybe we see the Mets have to deal with the Red Sox as well in this. Maybe we see some other big spenders get involved there as well, but I would look at the Dodgers, the Mets, and potentially a team like the Blue Jays as the 3 biggest rivals to the Yankees in any sort of pursuit here. And I would look at them as the 3 favorites for Diaz's services. That's just based on logic and guesstimation. Dodgers, Mets, very confident saying those 2. For the Yankees, the question is whether paying that kind of money for a reliever makes any sense. And on one hand, you could say that the Yankees could sign Edwin Diaz and have a lockdown 9th inning guy, and it's worth the investment. Edwin Diaz is going to be someone who you have for the next 3 or 4 years as your closer. David Bednar is a free agent after 2026, and he'll be in his age 32 season when he hits the market or when he signs his new deal and returns in 2027 with whatever team he ends up with. That is an investment that won't be too far off of Diaz. Perhaps it's not a $100 million contract or an $80 million contract, but if it's about $17 or $18 million a year on a per year basis, you're really only paying about $3 million less for the player, and you can make a real argument that Diaz is worth more than $3 million, is worth more than the $3 million gap in AAV that you could potentially project for Bednar. Obviously, the Yankees don't have to pay Bednar, so it's not like they're picking between paying either player. They could just choose to not pay either player and say, we don't want to pay a closer, we'll just keep acquiring guys and trading for guys and having a closer carousel. But the Yankees, they might be interested. This might make sense from a roster standpoint. It's just a matter of which teams in Major League Baseball are willing to spend a lot or not. Are the Yankees willing to invest in the closer, go out and get a starter, go out and get an outfielder? If that's possible, sure, I'd be all for it. If the Yankees are going to spend a ridiculous amount of money, get that payroll to 330, 340, sure, but I'd personally bet against that. I don't think it's going to get to 330, 340. I think they're going to be closer to 310, 315, 320, somewhere in that range for their payroll, and it's why I ultimately don't think the Yankees end up with Edwin Diaz. I think he goes and he returns to the New York Mets on a deal. I think the Mets look at him on the market and they say, how are we going to replace his value? I think with Pete Alonso, you can make the same argument, but the Mets, they don't really have a lot of existing bullpen depth on their roster. They do have a lot of firepower offensively with Lindor and Soto still on that roster. They've still got offense, and they don't really have a bullpen. Their current bullpen right now, A.J. Minter, Adbert Alzolay, Brooks Raley, Huascar Brazoban, Austin Warren, Jose Castillo, Richard Lovelady, Brandon Waddle. That's on Fangraphs and what they project as their 26-man roster. And their current bullpen, that's not a good bullpen. That's a really bad bullpen. Whereas their lineup, you've got Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor. You got Lindor leading off, Nimmo second, Soto third, Vientos fourth, Beatty fifth, Alvarez sixth, McNeil seventh, Mauricio eighth, Taylor 9. That's not a good offense, but it's not a bottom of the barrel offense. It'll be an above average group if they rolled out that unit based on their past season results. Those guys, they've got a ton of above average hitters in there. Beatty, Alvarez, McNeil, Soto, Nimmo, Lindor, all finished with WRC plus marks above 110. I think the Mets are just going to be aggressive in bringing back their guy, and their guy is Edwin Diaz. And then if they need to bring back Alonso, they can. If they want to go out and get another position player or another first baseman, Cosmo Okamoto, Josh Naylor, they're out there as first baseman, Ryan O'Hearn. They can get a good first baseman, a decent first baseman. It's going to be really hard for them to get a great closer. You could argue it's better financially for them to get Edwin Diaz or get Devin Williams instead of Edwin Diaz and then sign Pete Alonso, but That'll be the case for a lot of teams. The Red Sox are interested in Devin Williams. The Dodgers are interested in Devin Williams. That wouldn't cost you a draft pick. If I was the New York Yankees and I was going to pay big money to a closer, I would just pay money to have that Devin Williams return for one more year and not have that long-term commitment and have the ability and the flexibility to say, do I need to sign a closer after 2026? Yes. Okay, let's go sign a closer then. So we'll see how things shake out. I ultimately doubt the Yankees end up with Edwin Diaz, but that is not a 0% chance of him coming here. I just think that as we look at the early seeds in this offseason, Tatsuya Imai strikes me as a bigger priority or a bigger want on their wish list, as does either Cody Bellinger or Kyle Tucker. That still hasn't been made particularly clear to me based on what I've been hearing. I don't really know what's going to happen there, but I know that Tatsuya Imai is someone they really believe that they should be heavily after. I think they're going to be heavily pursuing him, and those kinds of conversations muddy any Edwin Diaz conversation because it's just not realistic to expect them to sign Bellinger and or Tucker, especially Tucker. Tucker, Diaz, and Imai, that's $80 million in payroll between. That's $80+ million in payroll potentially between the three of them. I don't think that's going to happen. So even if it's Bellinger, that's $60+ million in payroll, potentially 70. I just doubt that. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Should the Yankees sign Edwin Diaz? Should they not? Again, I want to get your thoughts on those and on that kind of free agent and what you think the Yankees should do with him. If you appreciate and you like this kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, and again, turn on that notification bell. You'll get updates on when we post. You'll get notifications sent straight to your phone. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys in the next one, and peace out, everybody.
Perfect.